AI and the Metaverse? Is this the ultimate convergence? I'm your moderator, Neil Sahota, and we're going to be talking about, well, where are we at with AI and the Metaverse, and why is this convergence so special? We're living at a time where we have a lot of exponential growth emerging technologies, and we've learned that we can kind of combine and stack them together to get exponential growth. And within the metaverse, we're seeing things like the use of agents and more interaction to help kind of drive some of the value out here. So with us, we actually have a fantastic panel. I'm going to ask each one of them to introduce themselves, and then we're going to get right into the heart of the matter. So let me start off, Vincent.
Hi, everybody. My name is Vincent. I am the owner of Founders Workshop. Founders Workshop is a software development company, mobile apps, web apps, system workflows, and integrations. We've built a couple of hundred software apps over the last 14 years. I personally have been involved in technology for 25 years. I am a developer. I mean, I don't code for a daily basis, but I am a developer. I've been coding since I was 14 years old. And I have never, I taught myself how to code AI about 7 years ago. I have never seen anything like what we have right now. And I've been at this a really, really long time as a developer and as a machine learning engineer. What we have with AI and AI in the metaverse right now is nothing less than a paradigm shift. I recently co-founded Decision Tree AI as a separate company to focus exclusively on AI work for clients, and we have been slammed.
Oh, wow. Awesome. Let me go next to Linda.
Thank you for having me, and it's exciting to be here with all these amazing people. I have been working in business strategy around emerging technologies for, am I going to say the actual number? 30 years. And I have been working in computer graphics as long, if not longer. Back when Photoshop was in beta, I was addicted and haven't stopped playing since. And now I do VR art and AR and all that stuff as well. But I do business strategy consulting as a profession, and I help companies understand the impact of emerging technologies on their business and their markets, and then help them understand what they have to do next. And then sometimes I stick around to build it for them. So.
Awesome. Is your background part of your artwork?
No, actually, I didn't do that this time. I did AI generated background for this one. I'm playing heavily with AI generation as well. I think if you want to talk about it, you have to understand it. So I've been playing with all the various types that are out there right now and having an absolute blast doing it, I have to say.
Awesome. All right, Frank.
Hey, thanks for having me. Frank Diana, I am the principal futurist at Tata Consultancy Services, part of the large Tata conglomerate out of India. And as a futurist in this day and age, it's a fascinating time to be one. And I spend most of my time, as you might imagine, speaking in various forums about where the world is heading. And although technology is a big piece of the story, I focus a lot on geopolitics and society and economy and environment, all these domains that converge in ways that shape the future. So, as I said, fascinating times to be doing the work that I do around the globe.
For sure. Thanks, Frank. And Lewis.
Hi, I'm Lewis Rosenberg. I've been a technologist in virtual reality, augmented reality, and artificial intelligence for the last 30 plus years. And so it's actually exciting to see these things coming together. I started way back in virtual reality in 1991 in labs at NASA and Stanford. And then I went to the US Air Force and developed mixed reality. Founded one of the early VR companies, Immersion Corporation, in 1993. They're actually still around. I left after a decade, founded an augmented reality company. And then in 2014, I founded my current company, Unanimous AI. And so really for the last 9 years, I've been focused on mostly on artificial intelligence. At Unanimous AI, we actually work to connect large groups of people together and make them smarter with AI, which actually has a convergence back to VR and AR as well. So again, I see my efforts converging, but the entire industry is converging. And to be honest, augmented reality, virtual reality will ultimately we'll ultimately see that it won't be able to even exist without AI. AI will be the secret ingredient that makes it all happen.
Awesome. And I love the way you're thinking, because that's what we want to explore today. What, why the metaverse needs AI and maybe the other way around. So I can't wait to start the discussion. So let me ask each one of you, what does this convergence mean? We talk about AI and the metaverse converging. What does that kind of mean to you? And I'll rotate this around. So let me start with Linda this time.
For me, I think AI is the engine. It's the engine that will, at the creation side, at the programmer creation side, making it's going to make sure that lots of people have access to creating and content, and they can create worlds and they can create experiences that will make other people want to join in. So it'll help grow the entire ecosystem. But also in terms of the experience, it'll make it so that any interaction you have is actually targeted, personal, all those things, and that it actually is smart and intelligent, and it creates an experience that could not exist without that layer of engine. So for me, the AI is the engine. If that makes any sense.
Right. I love that, the engine. Frank?
I like the notion of convergence. I use that a lot, and in my line of work, convergence is pretty broad. So although AI and metaverse are aspects of convergence, there's so much more going on that's also converging at the same time. And so when I think about this, it's really the application of that convergence that matters. How do we apply the fact that metaverse and AI and others are converging? I'm doing a lot of work in the digital twin space, which we can get into, but it's really, digital twins, for example, and how they manifest themselves through these convergences that impact society at some level. So I really look at it more through the lens of how these things will be applied eventually.
All right, cool. We're going to definitely explore digital twins a little bit more here. Lewis?
Yeah, so I agree with Linda and Frank about both of those points about digital twins and about content creation. So I'll add another dimension to this, which I think is just as important, potentially more important, which is I see the potential biggest impact of AI right now as transforming us into an age of conversational computing, where we will be talking to computers and computers will be talking back, and it's not going to be like Siri and Alexa, where you issue a command and it does what you say. We will be having conversations with our computers, and our computers will be probing us for information. And I actually think that this is the gateway to virtual and augmented worlds, because the way I see it, right now we're interacting still primarily with text, even with AI systems are text-based, OpenAI, ChatGPT, but very soon that will be voice-based, and as soon as it's voice-based, there will be virtual personas that you're talking to, and they'll be flat, like they're not going to be virtual reality. They'll be flat, like you're talking to somebody in a Zoom window, but they will very quickly be realistic, and that's just the natural step to then be interacting with AI avatars that are who we interact with when we interact with a web page or a service online. And so we're very close to a point where every web page you go to, you're going to be interacting with basically a virtual agent who is the sales representative, and that's going to really be what we start to think of as the metaverse, and then it's going to become more and more three-dimensional, but we're going to expect this realm where there are humans and there are virtual agents. And for a lot of the roles that web pages currently serve in terms of information access and information exchange, we're going to be interacting with virtual people, and then we're going to want it to be 3D.
Louis, just isn't. I know that Vincent hasn't said anything, but a couple of years ago, I did a presentation on the intersection of AI and XR, and I created my personal concierge, Aria, because she keeps my lists. So for the Game of Thrones fans out there, that was a joke, but I think I agree with you totally. I think it's 3D interaction and natural language, sure. Sorry, Vincent, I jumped ahead.
No, it's okay. It's okay. That's good. I appreciate what you said, Linda, and Lewis, I appreciate what you said too. I agree with all of you naturally. What is AI? The latest round of AI, the generative AI, is a superpower that everyone has been given, right? If you're not using AI many times a day, and everything you do, you're missing out on a superpower. There's no doubt about it. I don't look at it as a convergence. I don't look at AI and metaverse converging no more than I look at electricity converging with everything that electricity created since we harnessed it in the 1800s. AI is like electricity. It's a general purpose tool that right now is really the spotlight of is content creation, but it's obviously so much more. It's pattern recognition at its heart, and it is content creation. So what do you do with a tool like this, a general purpose tool like this that could recognize patterns in large corpuses of symbolic sets, at the same time allow regular people to go ahead and create content? Well, we're going to be creating industries that nobody in this panel can think of. And it's going to change the face of metaverse, VR, AR, or any other type of interaction that we do. As Lewis alluded to, the way we interact with computers are going to change. In my opinion, the graphical user interface is going to quickly give way to the linguistic user interface. So we are definitely on the dusk of the GUI and the rise of the LUI. And what does that mean for VR? Well, that means incredibly personalized content, way beyond just interactive NPCs, but really personalized content.
Awesome. So I think there's a lot to actually unpack here, because we're talking about the interactiveness, the engine, the shift from maybe bots to agents, the rise of the LUI. Look, I hear a lot of things about the digital twins being able to replicate. Where actually where are we right now, I should say, in this journey? Like what's here today and what's right on the cusp of being here? So let's start with you, Frank, this time.
Well, so I'll stick with the digital twin story, since it is something that I've been talking about a lot lately. And it's here today at some level, and it really is fascinating to watch. And it is the broadening of these underlying tools and maturity of them that is allowing us now to apply these twins in various scenarios. So, for example, at TCS, we are the big sponsors of the marathons around the world. And at this past New York City Marathon this weekend, we showcased a digital twin of an elite runner's heart. So we actually created a digital simulation of her heart through an MRI. Des Linden is the elite woman runner. Showcased it before the marathon, and there was a commercial actually that ran on ABC that showed that heart. And so, if you think about the application of a digital organ and its benefits to society along the way, it's just fascinating to really kind of think how that manifests itself over time. So our ability then to understand cardiovascular disease better, test and simulate things that speed up our ability to cure those diseases. And in this case, it was a function of understanding performance, the impact of that running on the heart, recovery, even nutrition, a number of different things that were aimed mainly at the sport. But just a really good example of how rapidly I think these underlying technologies are advancing to allow us to do those things, and then just play that out, digital twin of just about anything when it's all said and done. And clearly artificial intelligence and its capacity to simulate will allow us to do so many different things, including address climate change. There's people working on digital twin of the Earth at a level that allow us to actually simulate the impact of climate change. So it's fascinating times.
Oh man, that's a very powerful and amazing tool with digital twins. Lewis?
Yeah, in terms of where we are, we're at a place where things are moving very fast. We're at the beginning of another computing revolution, just as important as the mobile revolution, the PC revolution. But it's going to happen faster. It's going to happen faster because AI technology is moving faster than these prior changes, which makes it scary because we don't have enough time to make sure that it's safe. And I'm not even talking about the dangers, these existential dangers of losing control over AI. I'm talking about really the more direct dangers of, are we ready for this transition to these very interactive experiences with with computers, conversational interactions, because we're going to be speaking to artificial agents all the time, and we're going to be giving information to artificial agents all the time. You ask how close this is. This is, within just a year or two, we're going to see this transition of the standard way you currently give information to a computer if you're looking to buy a car or a house is to fill out a form online, and you're giving information. When that transitions to conversational and there's a friendly looking agent talking to you, you're not going to really be realizing that you're giving information that's ending up in a database somewhere. We're comfortable talking to a salesperson in a store because it's just between us. It's not going, being shared into this, into the ether. But the world we're entering is that we're going to be, the salespeople we're talking to are going to be capturing information about us, storing that information, sharing that information with other sales agents that we're going to be talking to, and are going to be very skilled at influencing us. They're going to be trained at influencing us. They're going to be much more skilled than a human salesperson at reading our emotions, at listening to our concerns, at overcoming our concerns. This is dangerous because we're just not prepared for it. We don't have the types of regulations in place, and even with the huge amount of discussion about regulation, it's really not about these more subtle issues, which is that how do we need to be protected when we're soon in a world where we're just communicating naturally with AIs, and those AIs, most of them are going to be commercial AIs with an agenda, with a goal of influencing us. So it's an exciting place, but it's a dangerous place, and it's coming very, very quickly.
I definitely agree with that. I was saying almost 10 years ago that we're going to reach a point sometime in the near future that it's going to be basically an AI bot trying to sell your AI personal bot stuff rather than trying to sell you anymore. It sounds like we're getting to the point. All right, Vincent.
Yeah. So, as far as existential threats, I'm not really in the existential threat camp. So I'm going to steer away from that conversation. I'd like to talk more about, potentially what things might look like in the very, very near future. Lewis talked about, how you're going to be talking to your computer, and let's kind of do a little thought experiment here on how that could mature with AI and VR. Okay. So, right now, if you are using Excel, we all use Excel, and you want to put your financial data in Excel, and you might create a formula in a column that will, look for the median value. I don't know, something like that, right? So you have to figure out what the formula is for the median value. Okay. Now all of a sudden you have a large language model integrated into Excel. So instead of you having to figure out how to make that formula for a median value, you type into the large language model, for column F, create me a formula for the median value, and it does it for you automatically. But then you say to yourself, now hang on a second, why would I ask it to create a formula for me? I'll just ask it, what is the median value in column F? Okay, great. But then you take it one step further and say, what do I need Excel for? I'll just point it to my data and talk to a large language model that is trained on financial data and say, my data happens to be sitting over here, wherever over here is, and I want to know, my COGS for the last 3 months, my median COGS for the last 3 months, or something like that. So what we're looking at is a transition from the graphical user interface to the linguistic user interface. But you're going to see, with the demise of graphical user interfaces, you're going to see a rise of models, okay? Everybody is very familiar with what OpenAI just released on Tuesday, and probably everybody on this call has made several GPTs already, right? And it's at the very, very beginning of what we're going to see coming out. We're going to see a lot of models coming out. Everyday folks creating models, because code is not going to be required for the vast majority of them, and selling these models based on their expertise and their domain knowledge. So we talked a little earlier about in VR how things are going to be very custom. Maybe I'll go into VR and I'll say, I want to do something with dinosaurs or pirates or spaceships. Well, why do I need to buy an application to do this, an app to do that, and an app to do this, like I have right now off of Steam, why not just have one large language model and one generative AI combined together, and then I can buy various models to plug into it, very much like Stable Diffusion works right now, where you have Stable Diffusion and any kind of model you want to make something very specific. So I think that you're going to start seeing a huge shift in the way that that applications are sold and the way we interface and work with applications.
Awesome. All right, Linda.
A lot to respond to. These guys are all really good. I think we're in diapers. If you ask what stage the industry's in, diapers. Rapidly learning to walk, though. I agree with a couple people have made the comment about the dangers of AI. Absolutely. As humans, I'm not sure we're ready for this. Vincent, I have been privy to arguments over somebody used somebody else's prompt and therefore they own that prompt. And I'm like, you guys have to, the paradigm shift of what is ownership is just to change completely, and the getting away from the concept of it in terms of this stuff often. I think the opportunity for the average person to use spatial computing and to interact naturally is huge. I mean, after all, the typewriter was invented to be difficult to use because they couldn't let the keys stick. So they had to lay out the keys. So it was actually difficult. We've inherited that. It is not an art. It is not, you know, a natural way to interact, but it's become natural, typing and mouse, because we were used to it. I think it's an enormous opportunity for the human race to advance in a more natural way and to use this technology that's wonderful. And we do have to think about the impact, and there's a lot of it. I think I've already seen any number of, you know, this was a real picture and people don't realize it's AI, and the implications for propaganda there and for agendas is obviously huge as well. The influence in combination with social media. But all in all, I think it is an amazing leap for the next step of humankind to do.
Well, awesome.
It's interesting what you said about ownership, Linda, about
Yeah.
the person you were consulting said that they own the prompt, hence they own the output of the prompt if someone else uses it. Is that right?
Yeah, no, people don't seem to get that. Like if you're on Discord using Midjourney and you use a prompt and somebody else uses your prompt, you can't then claim that they copyright infringed on your prompt. I'm like, people, this is not a thing. But I'm watching it. So I'm a sociologist. I like watching people too. So I'm doing this partially to like watch all this, like as it turns out and how people react. And I what I do love about, and I know I'm focusing on the creative generation part at this point, but I love that it gives people who never had the opportunity to be creative or visually study any of this stuff or know the art, to all of a sudden you can kind of see inside their heads what they're thinking. So it's actually a really neat tool to like see inside people's heads and things that you never would have thought of, and they were creating it. So it's lowering the barriers to creativity, which is great. I love the natural language opportunity. I think there will be an AI concierge in your future where they are arranging for which information gets through to you and which doesn't, because we're going to be bombarded left and right, as we walk around, and there's AR. No matter that, when we leave the house, is going to be everywhere. So there's going to be some sort of our personal AI that is trained to understand what we do want, what we don't want, how we want it, when we want it, all those things, and siphon and filter for us and manage and concierge. But yeah, the onslaught of data is going to be large unless we learn how to, you know, have something managing that too. But it is an opportunity to be much more efficient and produce more and enjoy more and all those things than before. And that's what I'm looking forward to as part of it.
And if you want to talk about existential risk, you know, let's talk about jobs for a second. Is that okay, Neil?
Oh yeah.
Okay. So you know, I see a lot of folks saying, you know, at my company, AI is not going to replace any jobs. Okay, let's be realistic, all right? That's, come on, it's naive, all right? It's extremely naive. I forget who it was, but it was a real Twitter storm a few weeks ago where this guy mentioned that he laid off 90% of his support staff in favor of replacing them with GPT-powered bots. And he said the reason why is that they're more intelligent than my support staff, and my customers are getting much better customer service. Okay, I don't know the financial situation of his company before or after, but certainly if your company is in trouble and you're able to replace some people with AI, it's a good move. It's a very good move. I mean, you don't want the entire company going down and everybody losing their job. What you want is to preserve the company, let the company get back on its feet again, and then you'll probably, if you grow, be offering a lot more jobs than you laid off. This is especially relevant in a recession, which we might be in already, or going into a recession pretty quickly. We are going to lose jobs in AI. All right. The naivety of no one's going to lose their jobs is just, it's nonsense. It happens in every technological revolution. However, the new industries that are going to be created will create far, far, far more jobs than are lost. We're going to have a short-term pain. There's no doubt about it. But in the long term, there's going to be so many more jobs and so much more opportunities for folks who are not technical, but are just creative, smart, and ambitious. So that's my personal take on it. I'd love to hear what you guys think. Louis, you're a business owner. What do you think?
So I think there's going to be a big impact on jobs, and I think it's going to be more significant than previous technological changes, because it's going to impact different types of jobs. Usually, the previous technological impacts on jobs have been mostly for unskilled or mildly skilled workers, whereas this current change is going to impact highly skilled workers, meaning people who went to school for really long time to learn their skills. Jobs like radiology, I talk to radiologists who are afraid. They think their field is basically gonna mostly go away. And if you went to school for 8 years to become a radiologist, like that's, if there's new completely different jobs, that doesn't really that's not much comfort to you. Computer programmers, there will be. I mean, there is no question that a large amount of what computer programmers currently do is going to be replaceable by artificial agents that create the code. Yes, there's going to still be jobs for the people designing the application, still be jobs for people who are doing the high level planning, but that's not as many jobs. It just won't be. And already, people in the arts are already being impacted. People who are, if you're a freelance graphic designer or a freelance artist, I mean, this is not what you expected. You already were in a hard profession, right? You're already a profession that's not easy to make a living, and now you're competing against software that is certainly faster than you. And cheaper than you. And so in so many industries, professions that took people a long time to learn, whether it's being an artist or being a financial analyst or being a radiologist, are going to be impacted. And that's going to be difficult for those people to handle. It's harder to retrain than in previous technological revolutions.
Louis, you brought up something. May I, Neil?
Go for it, Vincent.
Okay, you brought up something that's really interesting, and I'd like to get Louis and Frank's feedback on this. So, I'm a developer. I have 30 developers who work for me, but I'm not putting my head in the sand and saying that I'm safe. I know that I'm in a lot of danger. I like to make the analogy of, imagine there's no dental hygienist out there and the dentist cleans your teeth, right? How much would it cost for a dentist to clean your teeth? Well, probably 3 to 4 to 5 times more expensive than it is for hygienists to clean your teeth. All right. Computer programmers, let's say they get paid on average $150 a year, right? Okay. But right now, somebody without any computer code, but, with a bit of, logic in their head, a computer programming experience, but a bit of logic, can go ahead and use GPT-4 or Find or Copilot and create code, can create front ends. And this is going to get better. And it's the worst it'll ever be right now. It's going to get better and better and better. So a couple of things are going to happen. First of all, the salaries for developers are going to go down. There's no doubt about it, because you're going to have hygienists making entry-level applications. Alrighty. But also what's going to happen is that everyday folks who don't know how to code are going to be able to step into the market of creating applications or models much easier and fluid than they can today. So what does that do for the super large tech companies or super large businesses like the Ubers and, the Lyfts of the world and, Snapchats who own the technology, but now this becomes something that almost is ubiquitous. What does that do for the whole business model of the tech world? I know we're talking about, midterm and not short term here, but I'm curious what, Frank, you work for Tata, and Louis, your business owner, and Linda, you are a sociologist. What does this do to the entire model?
Only as a hobby.
Say that again.
I said only as a hobby. I'm a sociologist for fun. I do business strategy for a living, which is very left brain. I think that I'm not sure you're going to need coders, because you'll just tell the AI to build your app. So you may not even need to know code. I think ideas will go faster to market, and people will then, distribution will still be an issue, but then we'll have bots to help with the marketing. I don't know. I think it's going to hurt. It's going to help the proliferation of what's out there, including all the junk.
So this conversation around tech disruption and jobs, it's one of those examples where you can't have this conversation in isolation. And the reason I focus on so many different domains is because there's a lot happening in every one of them. And so to try to predict what might happen even in the next couple of years is impossible. So for example, in the job context, demographically, we have less and less workers, and it's a global phenomenon. And by the end of this decade, it's projected to be a very acute problem. We're having fewer and fewer children, another global phenomena. We're a rapidly aging society. So demographically, there's a lot of headwinds. And so when you think technological unemployment, the other side of that equation is, do we have enough workers to do the work in not too distant future, right? So is it a problem or a solution? And that's an open question. But in my mind, these debates, it's good to debate, but I think there's just too many unknowns across every domain to really hone in on an answer.
Let me bring this conversation around a bit here, because I think we're doing a great job talking about some of the benefits, some of the challenges we're facing. We're living in a time of hyper change, that essentially we experience 100 years of change in the next 10 years. What should people be doing to get ready for this? Or what should they be really doing right now, because we're immersed in it? And Louis, I'll kick it off to you.
Yeah, well, I think one of the most important things is for people to pressure their government officials to put protections in place around AI. I think, and again, I do think that there are real long-term existential dangers out there for AI, but I think before we get there, we're going to have a really difficult situation where we're going to be talking with artificial agents. Sometimes we might not even realize, are they human? Are they not human? The fidelity will be nearly perfect. And if it's just audio, if you're just talking to somebody through audio, it's already almost indistinguishable. And so we're entering a world where we humans are going to be at a disadvantage. We're outmatched by these AI systems. These AI systems will be able to influence us better than any human could. They will be everywhere, and the protections aren't in place. They will also be able to impersonate us in ways that are really dangerous. We talked about digital twins. I often talk about evil twins because you will very easily be able to emulate certainly the voice, but very soon also the visual facial features of anybody. And so you could be approached by someone who you think is a coworker, and and it's not. It's an evil twin of your coworker, just to extract information from you, whether it's over pure voice or in a virtual world or voice and video. And so we're entering a dangerous time. The protections aren't yet in place. The world is pushing harder than we've seen for any other technology, for sure, in terms of trying to put serious protections in place. But we are not there yet, and hopefully the public continues to demand safety around AI.
How powerful stuff around deepfakes there, Lewis. Vincent?
What you can do to get ready, and this is what I tell everybody. The funny thing is, and we all use GPT or Claude or Bard or whatever on a daily basis, but there's still a lot of people out there who have never tried it, and a lot of people who actually never heard of it before, believe it or not. My recommendation to everybody is stop what you're doing, get GPT plus version. It's $20 a month. You have zero excuse. Just don't go to Starbucks twice in the month, and get it and use it. Use the hell out of it, and really try to understand what this is all about. If you don't use GPT plus or something similar to it on a daily basis, many times a day, you're essentially missing out on superpowers. If you could hire a decent intern for $20 a month, how many would you hire? As many as you possibly can, and that's essentially what the GPT plus is. So my recommendation is, if you're not using it constantly all day, or if you never tried it before, get it, use it, and understand it inside and out, especially with the latest release on Tuesday. I mean, that was just mind-blowing, huh?
Well, that's great advice. I definitely encourage everyone to follow Vincent's advice. If you're not playing around with it, you're losing out on a lot of important skills right now. Linda?
Yeah, I mean, that's why I'm playing with everything I can get my hands on these days, because I want to understand it. And I think what I usually say to people is, you cannot complain, all of that, anything, until you try it. You understand what you're talking about. So I see an awful lot of people, because I got my hands on a lot of different worlds, who are like, I'll never use this. And I'm just thinking, you are putting yourself at a disadvantage. It is here. It is not going anywhere. It's only going to get better and more integrated. So you just learn it, just play with it, just do it. Also, I think people need to be cognizant of the privacy issues. People give away their data awfully easily. We always have, as we've shown in the past 20 years. So this is just this is a magnification of that. So be careful about what you share with it, if you can, and realize that it's there forever. And there will be an AI in the background that is correlating all your data from that's ever been out there, and increasingly building on it. So understand what you are giving away freely.
Hey, Linda, let me ask you a question. I hear the same thing too from a lot of people who say, I'm never going to use it. Why do you think that folks say that?
I think people are scared to change. Most people don't like change. They like,
Isn't it just what's as simple as that?
Listen, I was, among other things, I've been a metalsmith, jeweler, in my past for fun. I did a lot of things for fun, Vincent. One of them is that. And there's these people who refuse to use what they call technology, because obviously electricity they're using technology and optics, and those are both technology, right? But point that out, no. But when it comes to CAD, they're like, oh, I'm never going to use CAD. It's not the same. It's not the same. And I'm like, it's another tool. You've got to be a good designer, just like anywhere else. If you shit with a pencil, you can't design either. And that same mentality carries through to every industry from what I've seen so far. So, there's always these people who are like, I refuse. Well, you're going to be really sorely left behind. You need to understand what you have an issue with, and have an informed opinion on what you want to do with it and how much of it you want to work with. And realize that as the job market shifts, the people who understand the technology and know how to use it are the ones who are going to be at an advantage. So that's
an excellent point. I love what you said there, Linda. Before you have an informed decision by first using it. And by the way, while AI is going to take jobs, you should really be less concerned about AI taking your job and much more concerned about the worker sitting next to you who uses AI taking your job.
I agree.
100%. It's about what we call hybrid intelligence, complementing human abilities with machine abilities. So it's about human and machine. They always perform better than just human or machine. Frank, any thoughts about how we can get ready for hyperchange?
Yeah, well, this question comes up a lot, and I always answer it on a number of different levels: societal, organizational, and individual. Because, as we just talked about, humans are very stubborn and resistant to change. That's an historical phenomenon. It's not going to change. And in a world that moves as fast as our world does, and there's historical precedent for some of this. What I always tell an audience is the famous Alvin Toffler quote that the illiterate of the 21st century will be those that can't learn, unlearn, and relearn. And the unlearn piece of that is the biggest part of that quote. And it's just very difficult for humans to do. So if we don't start thinking differently about how this world's evolving, then we're in a trap, really, the technology trap that's existed since the Luddites tried to break down the machines. And unfortunately, that's the biggest issue. I mean, technology is going to move as we see it moving, but humans don't move with it. And that's really been the challenge. It continues to be the challenge. So societally, we have to start thinking differently. Organizations clearly need to start thinking differently. And individually, we need to nurture human level skills that make us somewhat different than machines and AI. And so when I get asked what my child should study, I always talk about nurturing critical thinking, systems thinking, creativity, imagination, those things that I think education fails at, quite frankly. And so any job conversation has to be really linked to an education conversation. And unfortunately, I think we're lagging in that department.
I agree. And I think that shows the interconnectedness of everything, right? That it's not just a job thing, it's education, which means curriculum, means skills. We could probably do a whole other panel on that, but I know our time is winding down here. So for our audience here, I would think they would love to get some advice, as we move towards this kind of AI, metaverse convergence and hyperchange and all these things. What's like the next step they should be really thinking about? So let me start off with you, Vincent.
The next step in what regard, Neil, beyond the advice of using, adamantly using it every day, next step in what regard?
Like what's their journey? What the journey should be looking like? They start using this every day. What else should they be thinking about?
So as you're using it, start thinking to yourself, what do I do on a daily basis that is copy and paste? What do I do that is mundane? What do I do also that is creative? And the whole reason why I implore folks to get GPT Plus now, if you're watching this video, pause it and get it, and start using it immediately, is because there are so many facets of your daily life that you could be using it and adding superpowers to your daily life. And then as you start using it, you'll start saying to yourself, wait a minute, I can't use GPT directly for this, but if I go ahead and I build an app to do this, this, and this together, I can now automate or augment other parts of my life. And we've done this at all of our businesses, and it's greatly improved efficiency. So not only are you going to use GPT Plus on a daily basis, but you're going to think about everything that you do and how you can use AI in order to augment yourself.
Right, Linda?
Don't be scared. Embrace it. Consider it an adventure and exploration, and give it a try. I think not knowing makes it more scary, right? So, when I talk to people about VR, for example, if you haven't put a VR headset on your face, and it's a little bit of an odd concept, I'll grant you that, as much as I love it. And I was sitting around a campfire, actually, with a bunch of friends who we only get together once a year because we all live in different places. And I was talking to one of them, and he'd just been to Italy to visit his family. And I said, instead of talking about VR, and, I just said, wouldn't it be fun if you could meet them once a month in VR, and you can sit around a virtual campfire together, and then you don't have to go to Italy to see them once a year. You can do this all the time. And he's like, that resonated. It's those human type of experiences that the technology enables. It's the technology is just the tool that makes it work, right? So if you speak to people, if you think about it in terms of what can this do for me as a human, and what can it do to improve my life, versus it's a technology, it's AI, it's VR. I think that is the lens that maybe needs correcting on some people. If they're scared of this stuff, just look at it as another opportunity. To Vincent's point about enhancing my life, and it's a tool that can do that, and speak to it in human terms. And that will make it less scary, I think.
Awesome. No, I love that advice.
Yeah.
Frank.
I would say pay attention. One of the struggles I've had as a futurist talking to leaders, especially maybe 3-4 years ago, was just getting people to pay attention and consider that it's not science fiction anymore, because it really was feeling like science fiction to folks. And so as you try to create a compelling reason to act, a level of urgency, if you will, that was just lacking. I've seen a change in the last several years. I don't know if the pandemic pushed it. Clearly, ChatGPT, when it launched, created a different kind of vibe. But I think it's important that we pay attention and look up, because I think too many people are looking down in their day-to-day and just don't see what's actually coming at them. So paying attention is really the biggest thing.
All right, awesome. Louis?
Yeah, no, I agree with all these points. That people need to make sure they're exposed. They need to pay attention, and they need to realize that it's moving quickly, so they can't look away or say, "Oh, I'll catch up later," because it's already moving at a different pace. It's going to move at an even faster pace. Nobody is. I've been involved in AI for my whole career. This is the first time where people who are really very, very skilled in the space feel like it's moving too fast for them, and it's not going to slow down. And so for everybody, even if you're against it, even if you're afraid of it, don't ignore it. Educate yourself about it, become aware of it. You'll see good things, you'll see bad things, but waiting doesn't help you.
Awesome. Look, this has been a incredible discussion. I think excellent advice from all you guys. It's probably spurred a lot of questions from the audience. So I think we can open it up now for the audience Q&A.